So, without further ado, we want to welcome our wonderful guest tonight, Mr. Sherman Irby, who you may know from all of his great work with the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra. He's also performed with legends such as Marcus Roberts, Roy Hargrove, among a huge list of people. He's founder of Black Warrior Records, and we'd really want to give a big shout out and welcome to Sherman. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's truly a pleasure. For all of us out here, not just beginners, but musicians of my age and older are still trying to get better at playing our instruments and playing this music better. So for us, it's not. This is considered a master class as such, but for us, the journey never stops. So we continue to try to get better so we can become the master we would like to be. The term of master is what somebody else deems, not what we deem ourselves. So it's almost like a golfer trying to improve his golf game. You just keep going at it till it just, until you stop. Okay, so saxophone. Today we're going to talk about the things I believe we should all work on to become better saxophonists and jazz musicians. This is my belief, my concept, my observations. And I say we because, like I said before, we're still working on it, And we don't think, at least I don't think that we'll ever master all of these points that I'm going to talk about. But we will continue on this journey. And, that's the beautiful thing about it. You'll never get bored because there's so much more to learn. These things also relate to other instruments. So people who are watching on Facebook who don't play saxophone, God bless you. But believe it or not, all of this stuff will actually relate to you all too. And to be honest, a lot of stuff that I'm talking about I learned from trumpet players. So let's get to it. We will go through 6 things that I think are key to achieving our goals. 1, tone. Next, articulation. And vibrato, inflections, embellishments. That would be 3. So I think those go hand in hand. Something I call swinging fingers is 4. Playing melodies is 5. And playing quiet with Verve, 6. 6 things I think that are key to achieving our goals to become better saxophonists, better instrumentalists, and better jazz musicians. Okay, let's start with tone. Tone is the most important thing to develop for an instrumentalist. And that includes piano too. It's the most important aspect of your playing. It's the most recognizable thing about your playing. It's personable because your tone is going to be like no one else's tone. But a tone, you have to develop it. And even when you think you got it right, sometimes somebody else can point out there's something you can do better. Say, for instance, when I first came to New York, I came in 94 to New York. In 1995, I talked to Wynton Marsalis. He asked me to come and play with him with his Jazz for Young People's concert. And at that age, I was young, and you know how young people are. And you think you've gotten to a certain point, and it's not what you think. We were doing a rehearsal, and Wynton just pulled me to the side and said, "Hey, there's something missing from your sound." Now me, I thought I had a pretty good sound. People around me was telling me, "Hey, you got a pretty good sound." People tell you a lot of things. He came out to me honestly and said, I think there's something missing from your sound. I went back and I listened to tapes. And I continued to make tapes and listen to it, and I said, I think I hear what he's talking about. There is something missing from my sound. I knew what a good sound sounded like live because I got a chance to hear Jerry Weldon play the tenor saxophone. And I couldn't believe how he was hitting all the harmonics, and he could play quiet and hit the back of the room. That's a sound. Now, a full tone, which is what you need to have, it doesn't mean a big sound. Imagine your closed fist is your sound, okay? If you open the fist just slightly, just enough to make it hollow, it may look like you can land a solid punch, but you probably break your hand. But if you close it up tight and you fill it and fill it all the way up and make it into one solid heavy mass, then you probably, can do some damage with it. Okay? The size of the fist doesn't matter. All right? Because the size of the fist depends on the individual. I'm a big guy, so I have pretty big hands. Somebody with small hands, it's the same concept. But even with small hands, you can make a lot of damage. The same can be said about sound. I'm going to play a little something for you. I'll just give you a difference between two different sounds. Clifford Jordan and Dexter Gordon. Check it out. Okay, that was Clifford Jordan. Check out Dexter Gordon.
Soy Califa.
You hear the difference in those sounds? Clifford Jordan had a nice, small, sweet sound, but it's full of information, full of emotion. Dexter Gordon has this great big old sound that fill up a whole room and make you feel all full, but both of them were full sounds. So it all depends on the individual what you're going to have. Just work on the best sound that you can get. All right, one way you can do that is listening to saxophonists. Or if you're a trumpet player, listen to trumpet players, so forth, but we're dealing with saxophone. Listen to saxophonists. Find out what you like and don't like and why. Charlie Parker, the people he loved was Jimmy Dorsey on alto saxophone because of his, fabulous technique. I mean, he was a master of the saxophone. To play anything on it, no matter what speed, it's always clean and impeccable. But he also liked Johnny Hodges because he liked that lyrical, soulful playing that Johnny Hodges played. He called him the Lily Pons of the saxophone. Lily Pons was an opera singer back in the early 20th century with this big, beautiful sound. All right, so you listen to saxophones and then you formulate what kind of sound you want. All right, so remember, you listen to saxophonists, you find what you like, and you figure out why. What are the things about them that you like? And then you can add that to the information and to your decision into what kind of sound you're looking for. All this stuff is going to formulate in your head, but it's not going to come by osmosis. You have to listen and start visualizing these sounds and start absorbing these sounds, and they'll help you create yours. I listen to a lot of people. Of course, I listen to Cannonball Adderley. I listen to a lot of Sonny Stitt. I listen to a lot of Dizzy Gillespie. I listen to a lot of trumpet players. Clifford Brown, Donald Byrd. Kenny Dorham was a big influence of mine. Gigi Grice, in the beginning, Gigi Grice, his sound was something that was very personable to me. So I think all of those things put together start helping me formulate what kind of sound I wanted to make, what my sound was going to be. But I still had to develop my tone. All right, that's the next step. Okay, that's the overall goal. So our next step going into this is long tones. Long tones are so important. There's no way around it. You only can develop a big sound or a small sound or full sound, whatever kind of sound you're listening for, by developing the muscles in your mouth, the airstream, everything that goes, the strength of your diaphragm, everything that goes into making sound through your instrument. No other way around it. Now I have a short warm up that I'll do before performances, and I try to do every day. It doesn't take long to do. I believe that you can get more out of playing quiet than you could playing loud. All right. So with this warm up, I would do softly, as quiet as I can. I will play each note. I will play 2 notes in one breath. For those who have the sheet that were handed out, it's the one that's long tone exercises. So you try to take you take 2 notes and you divide your one breath in half. So, one note for half a breath, the other note for the other half, and you go chromatically. I start on the low E on the saxophone. Whatever saxophone you start on, low E, either concert D or concert G. All right, and you play it and you go like this, without tonguing a note, and as quiet as possible, and keeping the airflow steady. Hope you all can hear that. So you play the notes soft as you can, one breath with 2 notes, and try to make sure that there's a clear distinction of the half step in between, as close in pitch as you can, and try to keep it from wavering. You want the sound to go exactly like this. You don't want it to go like this. You want to control the air so it doesn't go like this. All right, that's from E to F. Now from F sharp to G. Now it's okay if you start hearing the sound of the air and the spitting of the air. That's fine. Your goal is to strengthen these muscles. If you strengthen everything, if you're able to control your air and strengthen your muscles in your face, then you'll be able to control the instrument like you need to, because it's all about control. So I would do that warm up going from low E to middle E and back down. Okay, 2 notes per breath, chromatically going up from low E to middle E, then back down to low E. I try to do that every day. All right. It's an exercise that is not so long, but it's something that will give you a good warm up, especially since the saxophone, we don't have like a thing like trumpet players do. They have that they do every time. They've been doing it ever since they've been playing trumpet. This is the thing that I developed based upon something I learned from Jackie McLean. Now, Jackie McLean gave me his warm-up. It's a long, long warm-up. It's very good to do every so often. For students who are in middle school, high school, I suggest you do this one once a week if you can. College, yes, do this once a week. This will help you develop your sound because it makes you do a few different things. It makes you listen to your sound. It's just you and just and your instrument just playing long tones. You make you listen to yourself, and then it will make you work on your air. Because on saxophone, we don't talk about it so much. Brass players, they deal with it all the time. But saxophone players, we don't talk about air so much. It is very important. It's not a thing that you can do on the horn unless you put some air in it, okay? So he has an exercise that he gave me around 1989. He came to Atlanta when I was going to Clark Atlanta University. And he came to Atlanta to do a concert. And I just went up to him and I started talking to him and his son, Renee McLean. And we kind of kicked it off. And he gave me his warm-up, which he didn't have to do. And I was just so blessed that he did. So his warm-up starts with you going from E, and you're going to go chromatically up to E and then back down, but it's a longer thing. You play each note with one breath for 5 different times. You'll play it at pianissimo, then you'll play it at mezzo forte, then at fortissimo, then back at mezzo forte, and then back to pianissimo. So soft, medium, loud, medium, soft. One breath each. You try to keep the tone straight. You don't tongue the note. This one will wear you out, but it will make you stronger. So here's an idea of what it is. You heard soft, right? Okay? If you hear artifacts in it, it's fine. Your goal is to make the sound steady and the air to flow straight. Here's the next one, mezzo forte. Okay? And fortissimo. Then back to mezzo forte, and then back to pianissimo. You're going to do that with each note, starting at E, then go to F, then go to F sharp, G, and continue up to middle E, and then back down again. It's going to take you about an hour, 20 minutes or so to do it. And that's fine. You're practicing. You're trying to develop your sound. And while you're young, this is the best time to do that. All right? This is your formative years. Your body's still growing. You're starting to train your air, your diaphragm, how you blow your air, the temperature of the air, hot and cold, controlling, developing your embouchure. All that's going to happen, and your body's still growing. So it's just going to develop. It's going to put it on the right path, and before you know it, you start to get that full sound. I would, like I said, I do it once a week. If once a week is too much, we can do it twice a month. But it's a good thing to do. So that was given to me by him, and he updated his warm up, and it's in a book that you can probably find. It's called Daily Warm Up Exercises for Saxophone. Daily Warm Up Exercises for Saxophone. Jack and McLean. All right. Listen to yourself when you're doing your warm up. Listen. Just don't watch TV or whatever. Listen to what your sound is doing so you can control yourself. And of course, control your air. The next thing in sound development is taping yourself. Now, I said when I was, after what Winton had told me that he noticed about my sound, I said, let me listen to myself. I need to tape myself. Taping yourself is very important. You don't have to do it all the time. But let's say once a week, you tape yourself playing an exercise that you would do every week, just to see where you're at. It's good to find out what your tone is, because when you're playing, especially saxophone, the sound is not just coming out of the bed of the horn. It's coming out of these holes and all this kind of stuff. But it's also coming out in your head, because your horn is going inside of your mouth. Not on the outside, on the inside of your mouth. And it changes the tone, and the embellishment sound a different way than what it is. So we have a saying, the tape don't lie. So go back to the tape, okay? Tape yourself as you do these things. You will see the results of your hard work. All right? then you can make note of what you are doing, and then continue on. Uh, then remember your goal at the end. Sometimes you get bogged down in certain things of doing certain exercises, and you're doing long tones. Just you think you're trying to sound pretty. You remember you're trying to develop your sound so you can get a full sound. Your sound is going to be your sound. You're not going to sound like Sonny Stitt. You're not going to sound like Cannonball. No way are you going to sound like Bird, but you will sound like you. So this thing will help you get the fullest sound that you can get. Concentrate that as your goal. I'm still working on it. Okay? Okay. The next aspect of trying to get to your goal of being a great saxophonist, what we're trying to get to, is articulation. Articulation is a very important component of phrasing and sound. You can't have phrasing and sound without articulation. It's something, you have to start a sentence a certain kind of way and end it a certain kind of way. It just don't, it just don't work. It just doesn't work without articulation. It brings out syncopation. In syncopation, in order to really like define syncopation, we use articulation. It almost does. It does to syncopation like what a shadow in art would do to 3D imagery and drawings. So if you draw an apple and you want to give it definition, a more 3D aspect, you would draw a shadow to the right or to the left to create that depth. That's what articulation does. And, again, listening is going to be very important. Listen to Charlie Parker. Listen to Cannonball. Listen to John Coltrane, Wayne Shorter, Kenny Garrett. Listen to James Spaulding. Now, James Spaulding is interesting because he does not use a lot of articulation in his playing to create another type of sound, his own personal sound. But you have to take notice of it, and you have to learn how to do it in order to figure out what you want to do, how you want to use it, and how you don't want to use it. All right? So just listen as much as possible and take note of how they do syncopation. Now, I did a little workout thing that when I started noticing that articulation was very important, I put together little exercise to work on based upon what I had learned from the Universal Method book. They always have these things that you do. All right, so you're just playing notes and you emphasize one note. Okay, let's do an F scale, and I'm going to play it straight. But then with jazz, I'm gonna have to play it small, and I'll use the different articulation. This is an accent on the downbeats. All right. You have to do both because you need to know how to do all the things that you work on all the time. If you just do it straight, when it's time to swing, you're behind the 8 ball already. All right. So here's another exercise. I'm going to put it on the and now. This is the and of 1. An and of 1 and on the downbeat of 2. Downbeat of 3. So if I'm thinking of a 4/4 bar, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? Right? The difference between swung and straight. You need to practice that. It's not going to come by osmosis. So here's a Charleston. All right, so you hear the difference. That time I did swung, then straight. You can make up all kind of exercises. It didn't have to be a book. One exercise I like to do. All right. You hear that? Many different ways you can use the things that you already work on, swing those notes, and then and play with the different accents. Try to train yourself to do it all. When you start putting together your own playing and ways of phrasing and the decisions that you make based upon what you start to hear, you will already have the tools in order to do it. This is your time right now to work on those tools. So you'll be prepared for doing that. Okay. Check this out. This is another one. You can accent, and then here's another. Here you go. Let's see. All right, that's another exercise you can do. Again, you can just make up more stuff. I have here on the sheet here where you will just kind of help you out when you're accenting like the and or for, like you're doing this. The other notes have to be tongued also. So it's like in a way, you're tonguing all the notes except for the downbeat of 2. It's hard to do that consciously, but that's something that you have to do in order to make it work. So when you get to when you start doing that, I'm not constantly thinking about every note that I'm tonguing, but I'm hearing syncopations. And because I've worked on these things for so long, it just starts to pop and happen. So give yourself these tools. Articulation. It's going to help you out a long way. All right? It's going to help you find your sound, which is the object of the whole exercise. Okay. Vibrato, inflections, and embellishments. These are the things that decorate the notes that you play. It's important. If you're going all right, but if you're not giving a note or even a quarter note, you can put vibrato on that. It's going to be very important when you play a melody of a song, which we'll get to later, because you should be able to play a melody using the same tools that a singer would use. and one of the singer's biggest tools is vibrato. It softens the note. It makes it pretty. It's an ornament that it's not considered an ornament, but I consider it like a dress, clothes on a person. It dresses it up. It makes it presentable. It's the same thing as reverb in a room. If you don't have reverb come through, it doesn't sound as good. If you listen to any recording that is very, very dry, you're like, Reverb is kind of like that, and vibrato is kind of like that, okay? Listen to singers, how singers utilize vibrato to make music. Listen to Sarah Vaughan, listen to Ella Fitzgerald, Carmen McRae. It's just a bunch of musicians out here, vocalists over time that utilize it. Catherine Russell, Cecilia McLaurin Savant. Check them out. Listen to how they sing a melody, and utilize those same qualities. Utilize and make note of how they use vibrato when they do it, and use that when you play. When I make vibrato, I think about it. I think about it like a sine graph. So there's your line. In the sine graph, you have an equal distance of a curve up top as it is below. So like this, but the line is still there. So if you think of, you want to try to make it as even as possible. So the pitch, the perceived pitch is still the same. So you're lowering your jaw and raising it, but you're keeping your embouchure tight. All right? You're going to practice it. There's one way of practicing it that I used to do is, just do different meters. So you can control your vibrato, because at different speeds will help the note sound better in different types of tunes. It's hard to explain it, but it's something that you kind of feel because you listen to a lot of music. Oh, I need to slow down the vibrato here, it's just to give it that kind of sultry kind of thing. Oh, in this note, I'm gonna make it real vibrant so people can feel the excitement that I'm hearing, So, vibrato. Inflections and embellishments. Everything from lip slurs, swoops and swooping up and down. All right, that's one way. Johnny Hodges is a master of that. Okay, you say to yourself, okay, we play more modern music. We don't have to deal with that. You never know what you're going to have to deal with. Learn all the tools of the trade as you can. Then you can pick and choose what you can use to be your own individual sound. But finding your sound doesn't mean that you can't do other things. It doesn't make any sense. Learn how to do these things. Vibrato, these lip slurs, grace notes. All right, that's a grace note going up. Learn how to do that too. That's up going down. Air attacks. All it is air, controlling your air. Quick whoosh. Air attacks. Crescendos and decrescendos. You know, everybody talks about it, being able to go up and down. When your line is going up, go up with the do a crescendo. When the line's coming down, do a decrescendo. You can do it in your playing too. And if you really notice, you do it every time you speak to someone. You never speak monotone with one volume all the way through. When you're saying something that when you're speaking a language, speaking a sentence or something like that, reading a paragraph, your voice goes up and down naturally because it's something that you've heard and learned. That's why you listen to music, so you will hear it and you learn how to use it, and it'll be a part of your phrasing. And then you can think about, okay, I can use it as a tool, like being able to play quiet, using subtones. All right, subtones in the low register or the high register. All right. So that's subtones. Now growling also. You know, you can use that. Learn how to do it all over the range of the instrument. Then, you know, before you know it, you're starting, okay, I can hear that as part of being in my playing. All right? So, lip slurs, grace notes, air attacks, crescendos, decrescendos, subtones, and growling. All part of inflections and embellishments. All right? All of these techniques are used to make music musical. That's your goal. To make music musical. All right? So I play it to you. You should, I put the challenge to you. Pick out a melody. When you practice next, pick out a melody that you like and see if you can use all of these different devices. Vibrato, inflections, and embellishments. Okay? Swinging fingers. I call it this. You know, but it's just to get your minds to think about swinging. Now, these are the keys to swinging. First of all, you have to deal with the swing rhythm. All right? The swing rhythm is not a set thing. There's different degrees of things that are swinging. All right? You have a lighter swing, or straighter swing, or a heavy swing, or in between that. And you should work on those. So different degrees of it. You're gonna have to be able to play them all. You have to practice them though. It's just something that you have to do. But recognize it. The best thing to do is listen to different musicians play. I'm going to give you an example. Listen to Kenny Dorham. I'm talking trumpet players now. I'm sorry, saxophone players. Listen to Kenny Dorham. Then listen to Freddie Hubbard. Then listen to Nat Adderley. Okay? 3 trumpet players I want you to listen to. Kenny Dorham, Freddie Hubbard, Nat Adderley. Notice the difference in swing and what I call the lope. You know, it got to have that lope. But the lope it varies. It depends on the person and how they're using it. All right? So I implore you to listen to that and make note of that yourself. That's something you can do. You can hear the difference, but then learn how to use them too. Don't shy away from it. learn how to use them, then you can pick and choose what you like to be able to do. Melodic lines that swing. All right, that's the other key. You can formulate the swinging rhythm all you want to, but if the line you're playing is not swinging, the line has to swing. It's not going to work, you know. I'm going to give you an idea of what I mean by a swinging line. Check this out. There's a little bit of Duke. All right, so y'all hear that, right? All right, that's swinging. Now, imagine if I played that straight. It's hard for me even to play it straight. Even with that, the line is so swinging that I want to swing with it. Analyze why that swings. Again, a challenge to you. Figure out why that line swings. That is from the song Buddha. And it actually is actually Billy Stringhorn's song, and it's on that album, and his mother called him Bill, Duke Ellington Orchestra. So check that song out. Figure out why that swings. Play it slow, play it fast. See if you can make it swing when you practice it. See if you can make it swing in whatever tempo it is. All right? That's a good goal for you. Okay. Using articulation and swinging. Again. Here, check this out. You heard how I did those accents? Or the different ways you can do it. But if you use articulation, you can define how it would swing instead of going. That don't sound that good, right? All right, articulation. Like shadows and drawings and letters, right? All right, you practice swinging. Take most of the exercises that you do, practice them swinging, all right? And one of the things that I do, just to make sure that I am swinging, is what I do call the swinging fingers. Taking your horn, don't play through it. Just practice having your hands to swing. I'm going to do a D scale on the saxophone. You know, like an exercise like that. 1 to 5 and then back down. All right, check this out. All right, and you practice that without playing in it, so you don't have that other thing to distract you. So all of this is your fingers. All right. This is another thing to practice on. And apply those keys of swinging to your solos that you might have transcribed. Say, for instance, you take you transcribe a solo of Stan Getz, playing, you know, what playing on the Dizzy Gillespie, one of those Dizzy Gillespie recordings. All right. Say you take that solo of Stan Getz and you transcribe it. You transcribe the notes, and that's great, and the rhythms, that's great. But if you don't have the articulations and all the things that he did, then you won't get. I mean, you're missing information. How he swung certain things, how he played certain things on the straighter side. Make those observations and write them down on your transcriptions. You know, I think it would help a lot. Okay, we getting to that point in time here. All right, here's the fifth thing. Playing melodies. Playing melodies is very important, of course. But, you know, why is it? It's because the song is the most important part of a tune. If you play like a tune at a jam session or a gig, if you just go into soloing and then stop, that won't mean anything. The song is most important. That's the hook. That's what people will recognize, especially if it's a standard. So when you play a melody, you're giving great care to a melodic line. That is going to help you, because even in your soloing, that is going to help you. And this is also just make you a better musician, because the object of music is playing something that people can understand. All right? It's not to play all the theoretical things that's in your head, but to play melodies that people can understand and feel and affect their emotions. Okay? You usually begin with the melody and you end with the melody. So if you're going to do that, you know, you make sure that the melody is recognized and understood and imparts the feeling that you want to give to the people. All right? So you take your care with it. You learn the melody. You find a song that you like from a performance that you like the recording of, like some Miles Davis, Red Garland, or something like that, Charlie Parker, Ben Webster. I say, for instance, for me, Joe Henderson playing "If Ever I Would Leave You," that was a big tune for me. All right, he did that on The Kicker on Bobby Hutchinson's record. Charlie Parker playing on Don Lee, that was important. I mean, Clifford Brown, Stardust, that was killing. Just how they played the melody. All right, say you take the song, you find those recordings that you like, and then you find the earliest performance of the song that you can find, so you can understand what the composer might have been thinking of. For "If Ever I Would Leave You," Robert Goulet in the role of Sir Lancelot for the 1960 Broadway show Camelot. That was the original one, and you can find YouTube of him doing that, and other shows, him doing "If Ever I Would Leave You." Charlie Parker on Savoy playing Donald Lee. I mean, that's, you know, Bud Powell, you know, that was just fantastic. Clifford Brown, composed by Hoagy Carmichael in 1927. It was actually called Stardust. The Dorsey Brothers was on that. Hoagy Carmichael and his pals was the record. And it was supposed to be in the style of Bix. So after you go back and find those early recordings, then try to learn the melody. If ever I would leave you, it wouldn't be in summer. Seeing you in summer, I never would go. All right, those words are important because that's going to help you define how you play the melody. And Donald Lee, it's a bebop melody, but you have to learn how to play it right. So you have to listen to how Miles and Bird played that. Stardust, another thing about learning Stardust and songs like that have intros, it would be good for you to learn the intro, like on Stardust. And now the dust start twilight time, whatever it is. Ba-da-ba-da-bo-be-be-be-da-da. Check that out. I'm never the best with words, but I try to learn as much as I can in order to make sure that I can bring out the melody that is supposed to be there. It's important to work on those things. Again, it's another thing just gonna make you a full, well-rounded musician, because learning how to play melodies is so important, because that's your main job. Even when you're soloing, you are supposed to be making melodies, not running exercises. Okay? The last thing, playing quiet with Verve. It's one of the hardest things for a saxophone player to do, because we love to play loud. We think that loud is what everybody wants. We think we want to be heard, so in order to be heard, we have to scream. But that's not the case when our parents get mad at us. When they really get mad, you know you about to get in trouble. I'm gonna get you. They're gonna be soft. It's gonna be soft and deadly. It's like that kind of vibe. In order to do that, it takes a lot of control. That's why you do those long tone exercises. You work to get a full sound and figure out how to keep that sound when playing softly. All right. Why do you want to be able to play soft? And the big band, no matter what role you play in the big band, whether you're playing lead alto or playing baritone saxophone, dynamics in the band are meant to be exaggerated. If you're going from a mezzo piano to a double forte, you have to be able to do that. All right? But if you play loud all the time and you never really learn how to play soft, you can't really get that good degrees of soft that you would need. They have that dynamic range. We work on it all the time with Jazz Lincoln Center. We see the benefit of it. You see it with symphony orchestras. They do the same thing. You work with dynamics because it gives people something to grab onto. To be able to go from, as a matter of fact, let me give you a prime example. When I was in college, we went to the North Sea Jazz Festival and the Montreux Festival. At the Montreux Festival, Miles Davis was playing with his electric band. That was the first time I met Kenny Garrett. And he introduced me to Miles, who ignored me, but it's okay. But I was checking out the band. I was in the audience, and they were playing electric stuff, and it was loud. I mean, it was cranking loud, right? And I was enthralled with just how everything was, and Kenny sounded great, and everybody in the band was killing, playing that style, right? Then all of a sudden, pop, and it was very, very quiet, and they were grooving just as hard. They had played with dynamics on purpose to bring the whole band down, and it sounded like the music had stopped, that nothing was coming out of the board or anything like that. And the whole audience got real quiet because everybody was screaming beforehand. And then it was like, oh my God, it's even grooving harder. That they brought the volume down, then they brought it up gradually, and it was just all part of a thing. And it just realized the importance of dynamics, how you can draw people in by using it by playing loud and soft. Another thing, small band use the dynamics so you can control the audience. Like if you play in a club, sometimes the clubs or restaurants or something, and people are talking, they don't mean to. Yeah, right. But sometimes they're talking and they can be kind of loud. You can do things in order to take over a room by using silence and using volume to play soft. Because the softer you get, the more they just try to listen. Then they realize they're too loud talking. You can control your band that way when they get too loud, you being a saxophonist. So, the keys to playing soft. While lowering dynamics, articulate more aggressively. Your articulation is very important. But the softer you get, the more you have to articulate. Like, all right. So the more you articulate, the softer the volume, the more you articulate, the more people be able to hear it without you being so loud. I played a lot of restaurants. I played a lot of parties and things like that, cocktail type of things. Okay, I'm a jazz musician. I'm here on the big stage, but you know, I've done everything. Okay, you need that skill to be a working musician. That's regardless if you're playing at Carnegie Hall or Carnegie Bar. Okay, to be able to play a wedding reception and to play quietly amongst people who are around there to play a song. All right. Okay, good. So, playing soft, very, very important. All right, that's everything. Those keys, and again, I'm gonna rifle them off to you. Tone, articulation, vibrato, inflections, embellishments, swinging fingers, playing melodies, and playing quiet with verve. You work on those things. You notice how other people are doing it. Make note of it. You work on it. Before you know it, you'll be able to do any gig at any time and be able to control your horn and contribute to the music, to good music to be in today's society. Because Lord knows we need it. We need it, and we need you all to be great. So thank you all. Now we go to a question and answer session.
Someone was just wondering if you have, for those eighth note, those syncopation patterns, if you have any sort of nomenclature for, naming the different patterns and how you think about them.
I do not. I don't think we need to. I think we have enough patterns and stuff that are out there. Say, for instance, one of the good things you can do is go to the beginning of the Universal Method book for saxophone. That's, for me, that was the Bible of saxophone. That's what I learned out of. Just go to those exercises in the beginning and start applying those things that we talked about. Writing in articulations, practice them different ways. You can make up your own exercises. Make it for you. Because, you don't need it. It doesn't need to be in a book. A separate thing. A lot of you all have your own exercises that you already do. You just apply these things. Make them swing. Play them straight. Play with the different types of lope. Practice that. Make it into a fun exercise for you that is not a burden. And that's basically what I did. Because I never found a book that would have all this stuff in it. No one really talked about it like this. And look, I'm letting you all know what my observations were. This is not something that was in a study or something like that, or a book that I can really point to. It's my observations, a lot of observations from the great Danny Harper, who taught me a lot about music. He's a trumpet player. He's the brother of the oldest brother of Philip and Bernard Harper, the Harper brothers. It's about observations and notating your observations, and just like anything else in life, it's what you do instinctively when from a child to now. So, learn how to make things work for you. So, yeah, it's no nomenclature, it's no book, it's no class. It's just things that you observe.
Cool. Another question we had is asking about how do you find the line between individualizing your part and maintaining the original intent of the melody when playing in a section or a big band?
Okay. It is difficult. It is difficult to quantify what that means. We say it, play your part and put more of yourself into it. Personalize your part. what that really means is play it where you know it sounds good, but still be up under the person you're playing with, or with the person you're playing with. Say, for instance, you're playing second alto, and you have an inside line on something, and your part, every note moves with the first alto. But there are certain things that are part of you, certain inflections and stuff that you would do. Don't run away from them, but make sure they do not interfere either dynamically, with dynamics, volume-wise, or too much of eighth notes variance. There's a degree of that. Say, for instance, I'm playing in our section is myself and Ted Nash. Sometimes the lead line will be in the second alto line, so second alto book. I have to think about him while playing me, because all I can do is play me. I can't play him. So that's personalizing my part already, noticing that, and playing with my own personality and not try to play like him. But I have to make sure I do play with him, because, we do that as human beings anyway. We do that when we have conversations with other people. We don't talk at the same time, but we listen, and we play a part in something. That's it's all a part of that. It's that conversation.
We got another question here asking about how you practice incorporating different modes into soloing or improvising.
I do not deal with the modes. That's me personally. I know that a lot of musicians do. I do not think of modes. When I think of scales, I think of major and minor, whole tone, and diminished, and that's it. I think that if you understand what chords are and where chords are going, how to elongate one chord to give it substance. Say, for instance, if you're playing a D minor, if you just play D minor the whole time and play just one scale, that's going to sound crazy. But if you think of different movements within that, say if you have the D minor, but you also add in a movement of E half diminished to D7 with a flat 9, that would take you back to that minor. That gives you a lot to deal with. Or you can add the 6. Then I adjust my notes as it is. But I'm only just dealing with major and minor scales and whole tone and diminished. That's it.
Another question this person asked, as someone in high school, I just wanted to ask, what kind of things do you look for in a productive rehearsal with the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra?
Okay. A whole bunch of confusion, chaos, a lot of people talking at the same time. It's fun. If you go to a rehearsal with us, you can be like, what in the heck am I looking at? Okay? We'll play the song first time down. We have some individuals that can play everything perfect first time down, no matter what tempo, no matter how crazy it is. We're blessed to have a lead trumpet player that can do that, and that helps steer us in the direction that we want to go. Then we have others that can always put like a vibe on it, but may not play every note right in the beginning. But what we're doing at the same time are making observations of what we should do for a piece. So we play it down the first time, then we start talking. All right, Winton, if it's a song that Winton is in charge of, that he picked, or he's leading that song or that rehearsal, he'll tell us the things that his observations, the things that he wants us to do per section. So this is meant to be like this is meant to be like that, so y'all need to think about this. At the same time, you will see Ted Nash and Victor Goins talking about how they're going to play these two measures. It's at the same time we're listening to what he's saying, and we're concentrating on other things also within the music. That chaos is going on. You got Vincent Gardner looking at Elliot and say, hey man, let's try this. I'm going to lead this here, but I think Chris has the lead part and the second trombone part here. So this is all this talking is going on. So if you're sitting in the rehearsal, you're like, man, are they listening to him talk? Yes, we are. Why are they talking? Because we're trying to clarify all the other things that go along with it, because we know we have a short amount of time to rehearse. We rehearse 3 days. usually, and 6 hours of rehearsal. But it's 6 hours of concentrated, and it sounds like chaos, and then you hear laughing, but the laughter is with the concentration of this and that and the other. Maybe, uh, uh, it may be Carlos Enriquez, our bass player, talking to Dan Number and say, "Hey man, did you hear that? He put that in there. Is that the right chord?" Those kind of conversations going at the same time that Winton is talking. It's chaos. Then we play the song the next time. You're like, wow, the song was totally different. So if we have rehearsal like that, and at the end of the day we rehearse all of the songs in order, it should sound better than it did when we played it the first time. It's not going to be perfect because we never play perfect. We just try to play as musical as possible because that's the goal.
Wonderful. I think we're just about out of questions. So I want to thank, of course, Sherman for all his great wisdom and information tonight.